Hello and welcome to Into the 99, where we have 99 cards as Commander's number 1. I'm your hostess Lotus for another episode of Brewing It Live, and today I have Han,
Hello, everybody.
and we will be brewing a requested partner pairing. We've got Haldan Avid Arcanist and Pako Arcane Retriever. So let's unpack these commanders because there's a lot of text on them. So the first one is Haldan, who's a 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human wizard. You may play non-creature cards from exile with fetch counters on them if you exiled them, and you may spend mana as though it was mana of any colour to cast those spells. So to get those fetch counters, we use Pako, who is a legendary elemental dog for 3 red green for a 3/3 with haste. Whenever Pako attacks, exile the top card of each player's library and put a fetch counter on each of them. Put a +1 counter on Pako for each non-creature card exiled this way.
He gets so big so fast.
Well, they're a match made in heaven. It's such an interesting little mechanic between them.
Yeah, I remember popping open the Commander Ikoria precons, and this is the one that I definitely set aside, and I was like, okay, this combination's fairly broken. Right off the bat, I was just like, whoa, okay. Haste, and he grows. Just
See,
comes out the command zone swinging.
this wasn't the precon that I bought. I bought a Trimi, and because we don't play at the LGSs a lot, we play online. I've not actually had the chance to see or play against this partner pairing. So I don't know what the general consensus is of how this plays, but I have a good idea what I'd like to do with it.
Yeah, take us away.
Okay.
What were some of your thoughts as far as when you started building this?
I don't know where to start. I was going through so many things, but I think the biggest thing to do is I like the way Howden works. So
Alden,
we
the
attack with
fetch counters.
yes, so we attack with Paco, we exile the top card of their library, then we get to play them with Howden. How do we make that more consistent, especially knowing what's on top of our deck? I think the first card that I was going to actually suggest to make sure that we're attacking and getting the best card for our money, I should say, was Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah,
So we
Jace
can,
fits very, very well.
yeah, we can look at the top card of target player's library and put that card on the bottom if we don't want to cast it, basically.
Yep, he's pretty strong.
And then there's a card that doesn't see much play going down a similar line. So we're in blue, we're going to be reactive most of the time. When you don't spend your mana, Soothsaying is an amazing card.
Yep,
So
Soothsaying is on my list as well.
it's
So,
it's so good. Pay X, look at the top X cards of your library and put them back in any order. And if you don't like any of them, pay 5, shuffle it.
yep,
I think
yeah,
this
good.
card is so underplayed in any blue deck.
It definitely is. I like it quite a lot. It was definitely on my list as well. Ashen is in chat suggesting two cards. The first one goes hand in hand with yours. Stolen Strategy.
This was on my list as well. It's basically let's just do what these guys do, but without these guys.
Exactly. So, yeah, we're in Teamer. We want to go ahead and play other people's cards.
Yeah,
Seems about right for Paco. From having played against this deck myself, one of the people in my play group, Renzo, he loves Paco and Halden. We've played so many times, and he's played this, and about 70% of the time, if Paco gets some good hits, he just casts Halden and says, "I'm gonna play your cards, guys." Like,
yeah. See, that's the strategy I was going for. Hence the soothsaying, Jace the Mind Sculptor. I've got
yeah.
so many more cards that do it because I'm like, my deck is designed to play your deck.
The second suggestion from Ashen, he says you might like this one would be Bamboozle. I'm actually
Oh,
not familiar with Bamboozle.
this one was on my list. Bamboozle is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Target player reveals the top 4 cards of their library. You choose 2 of those cards and put them into their graveyard. Put the rest on the top of their library in any order.
So it's reverse fact or fiction? Put it on your library and put some in the graveyard?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't really want to cast these, and I want to cast that. Put that on top.
And I don't want to deal with these. So, okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Seems like good ones to go hand in hand with the idea of top deck manipulation, right?
yeah.
Some of the most easy ones that I can think of, Scroll Rack is phenomenal to manipulate your top deck as well.
And with the recent
Um,
printing, has made it, uh, I'd say reasonably priced. It's $25, but it's a powerful card.
yeah, certainly. And I've got Temporal Spring as well. It's an older card. It's a sorcery for 1 green and a blue. And Temporal Spring says put target permanent on top of its owner's library. So it could actually take something that's even on the battlefield,
Yep.
and you can go ahead and just, I'm going to put that on your library, and I'm going to swing with Paco, and I will put a fetch counter on it, so I can play that later.
I had that on my list because I was going down the same route.
So I'm kind of tying into the theme that you were going off of.
So,
Um,
going down that temporal spring route, what happens if your opponent plays something that you really, really wish wasn't against you, but you like to play it yourself? We should just run Hinder.
yep, that is one of the counter spells that are on my list.
One blue blue for an instant. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put that card on top or bottom of its owner's library instead of that player's graveyard.
Yeah, same thing as same thing as the other one, just on a lesser scale, and you're also countering a spell.
Yeah.
Um, Red Zone Gaming suggests Helm of Obedience or the Jester Mask and Cap. And Jojo also says Sensei's Divining Top, which is one of the ones on my list as well. Sensei's is very good. Go ahead and take the top 3 cards and get to look around at them.
Sensei's Divining Top. Yeah, that was definitely on my list.
So Helm of Obedience, Jester
And
Mask and Cap. Yep. Yeah, I quite like all of those. The one big one that I just know is, for me, it's almost an auto include in this deck, is actually one of Lotus's favorite creature types, actually. Herald of Secret Streams.
are you going on
Yeah,
those +1 counters?
no, Paco is. 3 and a blue for a Merfolk Warrior. It's a 2/3, and it says creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them can't be blocked. So the beautiful part about this is that Paco will attack, and on attack, the trigger goes on the stack, and you exile the top card of everybody's library. And assuming you hit one non-creature card, Paco cannot be blocked.
Didn't actually see that as a potential way of getting through. I was going to actually just put something on there like Aqueous Form.
Yeah, you certainly do have aqueous form and things of that sort that you can definitely punch through. Yeah, why not? Why not run the Herald?
Yeah, no, that actually makes
Couple
sense.
other ones. Couple other ones in chat right now. I see counters like Memory Lapse.
Yeah, one and a blue for an instant counter target spell. Put it on top of their owner's library.
So Memory Lapse. We've already mentioned Hinder, but Ashen also says Submerge, and we might even just want to put a Mind's Dilation in.
Opponent controls a forest and you control an island. You may play Submerge without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, it's 4 and a blue. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. Yeah. Mind's Dilation. Yeah, just cast 3 spells. Sure. I like that already.
So there's a lot of ways you can do this. One of the ones that I've noticed from building it the way I built it was that I wound up including a lot of instants just due to the fact that Paco has haste on it, so we could just pull Paco from the command zone whenever.
Yeah.
And we're playing a lot of stuff from Paco's fetch counters a lot of the time. Basically, my deck kind of went along the lines of we're gonna enable Paco a lot,
Yeah.
and Haldan, when Haldan does come in, we will be able to make use of everything that Paco set aside with fetch counters. So I actually have things such as Savage Beating and Increasing Vengeance, Relentless Assault, Seize the Day, these multiple combat step cards so that you can fetch more.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I know some of the Into the 99 members love me for is more recently you have Morog. Morog will gladly do that every time you landfall.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Morog will just Morog is a legendary Minotaur warrior. He's a 6/6 for 6, including 4 and 2 red. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it has attacked this turn. It also reads landfall whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control.
Yeah,
So
and then
go
trigger
ahead and swing.
Pako again.
Yep, and he's 1 stronger on top to boot for each time he attacks. So I mean, even if you only get it, your normal land drop every single turn with it, it becomes a problem fairly quickly. The
True.
table typically will deal with that quite quickly, or you will win.
So, if we're going to do multiple combat steps, we want to obviously get the best we can from the attacks. So, we've got the Jace, we've got the Soothsaying. I think we need more information on our opponents, though. So, if we use something like a Lantern of Insight, everyone plays with the top card of their library revealed. So, we can plan for each attack. If there's nothing decent on top of the library, we can use something like Codex Shredder to mill the top card of that player's library to hope for something better.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Because I want the best value out of attacking our opponent as physically possible.
One of the ones that I really liked out of Call Time for this deck was In Search of Greatness. The 2 green enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with CMC equal to 1 plus the highest CMC cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you get to scry 1. So, again, top deck manipulation for yourself, or you can cast a permanent spell for free.
Yeah.
Hey,
No.
a lowly being. A lowly being says, I love Paco Haldan. I have a version that's land matters. So
Ooh.
that probably ties directly into my Morog
Straight into
idea
Morak
there.
theme, yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of fun landfall effects that you can do in Teamer, Geode, Rager, and Goat things. I'm not suggesting it for this deck. I think I personally wanted to build this more along the lines of Paco swings and plays opponent's cards.
Yeah. Now, I don't think that these abilities on Poco are actually enough. So
It's not enough.
no, let's just have a Stryonic Resonator and double it.
See, I went with Lithiform Engine.
I can see now how degenerate we actually are.
I think everybody can see that a little bit. But
Yeah, you've seen our previous
while
decks,
we're
right?
while we're going this degenerate route, as I said, I have someone in my play group who loves Paco and Haldan, and I know he was very excited for this deck specifically. Jeweled Lotus coming down, Paco coming down on turn 2 is nuts. So you
Okay.
just have a red, green, and a Jeweled Lotus, and you can have Best Doggo out on turn 2, swinging away,
Yeah.
getting bigger starting turn 2. He just wants to put fetch counters on everybody's cards.
I'm one of those people that don't think Jeweled Lotus is actually that much of a good card.
I
But
would not disagree. However, in this deck, I would argue that Paco will gain a lot of hate.
yeah,
Even late game, it will pay for some commander tax.
that's
And
fair.
the upside of Paco having been out on turn 2 is ridiculous. You will commander damage someone out so fast. I've seen Paco swing on turn 2, 3. It's a 7/7 swinging if you hit 4 non-creature cards.
Okay, no, I agree. That's fine.
So 7, then 11 more. So that's 18 commander damage if it just hits 4 non-creatures twice, not including any multiple combat steps.
So if that's the case, and we're gonna get
Oh,
hated out the game, and we're gonna need that extra mana, with the way this deck plays, I'm gonna put in one of my favorite goblins. Put in a treasure nabber,
for sure.
because who doesn't want your opponents to help you cast your commander more often?
I actually went a slightly different route. I actually was thinking more Myth Unbound was my way of getting Paco back out a couple
Um,
times more.
I mean, I have Myth Unbound on my list as well as that. I was determined to keep getting these commanders out. So this reduces our command attacks by 1 for each time. Plus, it draws us cards as well.
Yeah, a lowly being. Come on, go ahead. Just suggest a way. It's the whole point of us brewing it live.
Yep,
we,
we
we want your suggestions.
we want you to tell us what to put in this deck. We're just degenerate otherwise.
Lowly Being says if you're including Jeweled Lotus, you should include a Mana Vault, another turn to Paco enabler. Yeah, let's throw that in.
Yeah, we don't have cost restrictions in our brewing it live.
To be perfectly honest, I mean, I will say Paco and Haldan is a CEDH competitive level commander pair if you choose to go that route. So you literally have the ability to brew this in any variant of the spectrum, to be perfectly honest. You can make it dirtily, you can make it. Yeah, I just want Paco out as fast as possible swinging. Yeah, if we want to just do turn two Pacos, I mean, I certainly do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just throw Paco in there. Speaking of, though, I think we do definitely need to include ramp.
that would be three wishes. Is it no three visits? I think it is.
Yes, Three Wishes is a card that cannot go in this deck.
Yes. So three visits to search for a forest card, so we can go search for our breeding pool or stomping ground.
I would suggest a Search for Tomorrow in this deck specifically. Search for Tomorrow is 2 and a green. It's a sorcery that allows you to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. But it also has Suspend 2, and you pay 1 green to do this with Suspend.
That's not too bad.
Sometimes you just play it as a 3 mana land card onto the battlefield tap. Sometimes you just suspend, and it helps you put a basic land card, possibly of the color that you don't have in your opening hand,
Yeah.
and it just drops it down right on curve. It feels pretty good.
I'm also going to suggest a Nature's Law specifically for the forest card.
Hmm?
Again, it doesn't say basic, so we can go get our jewels.
Yep.
Be
You can
it-
get your Farseek, and actually the best part about Farseek and Nature's Lore, you can certainly get the Ketria Triome with it as well.
Yeah, or your snow jewels, original jewels if you're lucky, shocklands, whatever
Yeah.
you need. Now, what if you played a card, or someone played a card, and you were very sad by it because you wanted to play it, or you played a card and you wanted to do it again? What would you do if we just shoved in not just revival?
Revival. Yeah.
So for one Phyrexian green, put target card from a graveyard on top of its owner's library.
Yep.
That's exactly what we want to do.
Yes. So we can put this to use on our opponent's graveyard cards as well.
Yeah.
And swing in with Paco and get to play it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that card a lot. I'm gonna backtrack one step. If you have access to Carpet of Flowers, it is beautiful in this deck. 1 green enchantment that just allows you to, during either main phase, once you may add up to X mana of one color, where X is the number of islands a target opponent controls. So the worst case scenario, if you don't play against any blue color identity at your pod, it's only a 1 mana investment and a 1 card loss.
Yeah.
So the floor of it can feel sometimes very bad if you happen to play in a non-blue pod, but the ceiling of this can just pay for all of your commander attacks and everything else that you need to recast Paco over and over again.
And there's that card in every deck that if you're in a certain pod, it just doesn't work. I think there's always the pet card that can only work. I think for 1 mana and 1 card out of this, it won't really affect us, especially if we're playing the opponent's deck more than our own.
Yeah, for sure. A lowly being is suggesting a Rhythm of the Wild. So Rhythm of the Wild, 1 red and a green enchantment. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Non-token creatures you control have Riot, and Riot is the mechanic out of Ravnica Allegiance, I believe.
Yes.
They enter the battlefield with your choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste.
Paco already has haste, but the +1/+1 counter is very handy, especially if we have Herald of the Secret Streams.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the can't be countered is beautiful.
Yeah, that was a suggestion from a lowly being because specifically for that reason.
Now, what's better than doing Paco's ability is doing it again, but this time a little bit different. Atali Primal Storm?
Yeah, if we have Rhythm of the Wild out for some haste, certainly.
It just does the same thing but cheaper. We don't have to pay for the spells that we exile later.
Yeah, I've seen Atali a couple of times. I think that it depends on your game plan. For myself, it's one of my maybe cards. just for the reason that I would rather have Paco do it with guaranteed haste.
The thing is, Haldan does non-creatures, where Atali does creatures, or everything. So if
Yeah.
we do have something like Lantern of Insight, where the top card was all creatures, we could swing with Atali and Paco. Both the attack triggers hit the stack. We can then choose to go, oh, it's all creatures on the top. We'll use Atali.
Yeah.
Or we use Paco and exile them and then see if there's any creatures next.
Yeah, for sure. My version of it just focused on Paco will do the heavy lifting. Like I said, mine has more along the lines of multiple combat steps, and therefore Paco gets pretty out of control very quickly.
Yeah.
My deck includes a primal amulet so that I can also copy those non-creature spells. However, yeah, if you wanted to cast some big creatures with Itali, certainly we can definitely include Itali in there as well into the mix.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to go down the instant and sorcery route, Primal Amulet is going to be a fantastic include because I have a lot of instant and sorceries that I've yet to even mention yet.
Yeah, and ironically, any of these instants and sorceries that you're casting with a fetch counter will also be cheaper, incidentally.
Yeah. How much do you want to protect Paco?
Quite a bit.
So, obviously, we're going to have to attack with it, and someone's going to have a creature potentially bigger than. So, I love this card so much. Dolmen's Gate. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control.
Certainly.
So, Paco can be killed with non-combat damage, but we can freely swing at someone that has a huge creature base and not worry.
Yeah. My solution to that was actually a Whisper Silk Cloak. So you just equip Paco with Whisper Silk Cloak,
Yeah.
three mana artifact that equips for 2, and Paco just can't be blocked, and he has Shroud. So different methods. I quite like the Dolmen's Gate.
It's a card again that I don't think sees much play.
One card that I liked out of my instance here was an Expel from Araska. It's 1 and a blue for an instant that has Ascend. If you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. And it reads, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you have the city's blessing, you may put that permanent on top of its owner's library instead. So again, we can put something that's being targeted from our end of things to either our hand, or if we have City's Blessing, you can put it on the top of your library, or flip that around. Cast this on one of the non-land permanents that your opponent has, depending if you have an Atali or if you have Paco out. Go ahead and put it on top of their library, and we can play it next turn.
Yeah. See, I went down to manipulating our opponent's top of the library so hard in my mindset.
Sure.
What
did you get?
I want to make the most out of their deck. So, Precognition.
Precognition?
It's 4 and a blue for an enchantment. During your upkeep, you may look at the top card of target opponent's library. You may then put that card on the bottom of the library.
Yeah, seems great.
Yeah, just I don't like that you've got a land on top, so I want to see what's next.
Oh, I missed one earlier. Huntsman says, I just usually play Spark Double. So, we want 2 doggos?
I mean, sure.
Doggo needs a friend. Needs a companion friend.
I mean, yeah. All dogs need friends.
Yeah. Can't just have Haldan as the best friend.
No. 2 doggos, definitely. That could get quite out of hand, actually.
Yeah, it's a good card.
And then the second one was Wand of Denial. For a 2 mana artifact, tap. Look at the top card of target player's library. If that card is a non-land card, you may pay 2 life to put that card in that player's graveyard. We might get stuck with a land on top, but at least we get to have a look at what's there.
Yeah, seems fine with me. Also found a card that works quite well. It's more along the lines of protection for Paco. It's called Vanishing.
Oh,
One
Vanishing.
Yeah, 1 blue for an enchantment that you are going to put on Paco. It activates for 2 blue. Phases out the enchanted creature.
Yes. which is amazing because if you go to phase this out and someone in response tries to kill your creature, you can then activate again to phase out once again.
Yep, there's no tap mana symbol on it
Nope.
because it's an enchantment.
And the good thing about phasing is the creature doesn't change zone, it literally just phases out, so all equipments and counters will still stay on there.
Including vanishing itself.
Yep, it's why I like Oubliette so much in Commander, because you can put it on someone's commander and it phases their commander out. They can't put it to the command zone because it's not chain zone.
Yeah, it feels so bad playing that, I'll be honest.
No, it doesn't. It feels amazing.
It feels so mean. Lowly Being says, how do you guys feel about Chandra's Ignition as a possible finisher with a big old dog? How do you feel about it, Lotus?
I mean, I like it. I love Chandra's Ignition as a card. If the doggo's going to get big, I mean, it's better than a fling because you don't have to sacrifice it.
So I had one other creature specifically that I wanted to include.
Yeah,
Um, it's Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter.
that was on my list.
A green and a blue for the 2/3 Elf Druid. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with CMC less than that spell, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't, cast the revealed card, put it into your hand.
It's basically Cascade.
Mm-hmm. But just your first spell,
Yeah.
and it cares about the CMC.
No, I
Yeah,
I had that on my list as well.
Yeah, I liked Rashmi a lot in this deck. Being able to do it on a different form where you just cascade feels really good. I'm sorry, Huntsman just said that if we're playing everyone's cards, Robber of the Rich is also in my build. I
I
love
play
Robber
this in
of the Rich.
Standard. Robber of the Rich in Standard is so good. I was playing up against Demir Rogues with this card, and I was playing their deck in mono red. It felt amazing. This card is brilliant.
Yeah, so those who aren't familiar, Robber of the Rich is one in a red. Creature, did I read that right? Human Archer Rogue.
Yeah, it's
We have an Archer subtype?
it's Robin Hood.
On this? Yeah, I get it. So, Human Archer Rogue, 2/2 with Reach and Haste. Whenever Robber of the Rich attacks, if defending player has more cards in hand than you, exile the top card of their library.
Yeah.
During any turn you attacked with a rogue, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast the spell.
It's a fantastic card. I absolutely love it. Now,
I'm just understanding the implications of this now and just going, oh, how many
yeah.
cards in hand?
So
It's
that
a
leads
weird version of Dethrone.
that
You're asking for who has got the most cards in hand because that's who I'm going to attack.
well, that leads me on to another card that I had in my head that might be good, and then I sort of like, do I want to run it? Do I not? Song of Creation. It's one blue, red, green for an enchantment that says you may play an additional land on each of your turns, which was where I was going because I want to try and get mana out on the board. And whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. So I was hoping to get more cards, to draw more, to play more. But at the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. So that was the bit that made me go, maybe I don't want to run it. But then if we're emptying our hand every turn, maybe that's good with Robber of the Rich, but that's one card for that ability.
Yeah, I personally cannot say I like that, but I also, in the version that I have in mind personally, I like to hold up either mana open for counter spells or for whatever Paco potentially tries to hit. But it feels more threatening when Paco and Haldan leaves mana up. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It feels so scary. Yeah, if you just hold up a mana drain or a Narset's reversal, for example.
Or even better, a Discombobulate. 2 blue blue for an instant. Counter target spell. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put them back in any order.
Discombobulate will get you there.
I just love the name of this card.
I'm going to suggest a card that is a pet card that Lotus you know well. in case we needed some more evasion, Hadana's Climb works quite well.
I thought you were going to
So,
say deflecting swat or bolt bend.
I mean, they're both fantastic. However, I was talking about evasion specifically. Hadana's Climb is a legendary enchantment. One green and blue. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, transform Hadana's Climb. You can have +1/+1 counters pre-existing on Pako, and it will transform immediately, depending on the current board state. And when Hadana's Climb flips, it becomes Winged Temple of Oraska. It's a legendary land that taps for 1 mana of any color. For paying 1 green and a blue and tapping Winged Temple, target creature you control gets flying and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. Bako's gonna swing for pretty heavy with this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so for myself, again, if we're trying to protect Paco a bit, I also liked the inclusion of Bear Umbra to give Paco totem armor on
Yeah.
top of +2/+2, and whenever Paco attacks, untap all lands you control.
Yeah, and then it gives us the chance to play more spells. So does that mean we want a Seedborn Muse as well?
Seedborn is not a bad idea. Huntsman also suggests heroic intervention for protection, which I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
disagree with. A pet card of mine for this deck, I liked it a little bit better than its instant counterpart. You might just run both. Having a Sawtusk Demolisher in this, it's the Mutate Beast out of Ikoria.
Yeah.
It mutates for 3 and a green, which is the only thing we really care about with this card. Normally it casts for 6, 2 green and 4. But when you mutate it onto Paco, it will give it trample. It will change its baseline stats to 6 and 6 for power and toughness. And whenever this creature mutates, blah, 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 we don't particularly care. But when we do, for the first time, we get to destroy a target non-creature permanent. And its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. So, beast within,
Yeah,
and make our Paco bigger.
I can see that. I mean, that's why I run Gem Razor most of the time. I don't play Gem Razor for its creature side, I play it for its mutates cost.
And some reach.
Yeah. Gem Razor is 1 green for reach trample. Whenever it mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment. As I say, I don't use this as a 3 and a green for a 4/4. I use it for a. I'm gonna give something reach and trample and blow something up,
Yeah, for sure.
and that artwork is always amazing.
I think we're all under the agreement that Paco is going to get pretty big.
Yes, I didn't realize how big until now, starting to build this.
Paco gets big. He's a big boy. He is not. He is not a little chihuahua. He is a big boy dog.
He's been pumping iron with Mowu.
He would take Mo and pretend he's Loki and that he's Hulk.
Oh, fair enough.
So with that being said, I would include a Rishkar's expertise into this deck. So 4 green for the sorcery. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control.
Yeah.
You may cast a card with CMC 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. And how do you feel about a Planeswalker
I've already
besides
shoved.
Jace?
I was going to say I've shoved one in. The only other planeswalker that I wanted to put in was Dak Faden.
Dak Faden, huh?
Yeah, because I like the whole gain control of target artifact.
Yeah, we could throw him in. I was thinking Domri, Anarch of Bolas. So 1 red-green for Domri, and creatures you control get +1/+0, and +1 at a green or a red, both of the colors that Paco is in. And creature spells you cast this turn can't be countered.
See, now
But
that's
it's minus.
reasonable.
But the -2 ability is target creature you control fights a target creature you don't control, excuse me. When Paco gets pretty big,
Yeah, we can deal with some of those annoying threats. So we want to manipulate the top of our board as much as possible, as well as the opponent.
absolutely.
Do we want to do things like brainstorm?
Yeah, I think in this type of a deck, Brainstorm is fantastic.
Brainstorm and then Serum Vision?
Serum Visions is good.
Because
Ponder.
Because Serum Visions draws the card, then scries too, so it can set you up for the attack. where
Right.
preordained scries 2 draws, so it doesn't give you much of the depth in scrying.
You
What
can also
was the one you
you can
said?
also Ponder is also a good variant of that. It's at sorcery speed for one. He's getting a nice new secret lair. Look at the top three cards of your library. Put them back in any order. You may shuffle your library if you don't like any of them, and you draw a card.
Yeah.
The one that goes hand in hand with that kind of effect, everybody, if you haven't picked up Commander Collection Green, pick up your Sylvan Library now because Paco loves it.
Ah, yes. Commander Green. Well, if that's the case and you want that, surely we just put Miri's Guile in as well.
You could double down. I just put Sylvan Library because a lot more people have access to it lately. We can definitely put Mary's Guile in. What
We.
did you think about throwing in a Sakashima?
How can you not?
Commander Legends brought some heat, and Sakashima making us just like Spark Double. Another Paco is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just Spark Double plus Ultra. No, I'm happy with that. I need to get myself a Sakashima, actually. I still don't own one.
Well, we can't have that because it's too good.
Now,
Um,
I think this card might be a bit expensive, but again, it's another
oh, are we talking about expensive now?
So,
Let's refer back to the first 2, 3 minutes of this
yeah,
episode.
but this card is like, oh no, we can pick it up for 15 quid. Cool. So,
Sure.
natural selection is a single green for an instant. Look at the top three cards of any player's library. You may opt to rearrange those three cards or shuffle the library.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. And as an instant, if someone does something that tutors a card to the top of their library just before their draw step, oh well, let's shuffle that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. A lowly being in chat says, since Haldan lets you play opponents' lands, as lands are non-creatures,
Yeah,
I like some cards that let you play extra lands, like Oracle of Moldiah.
that seems fair. We want to try and clear off as much land as well. Because we can play lands from the top of our library as well.
Correct.
That needs another reprint.
Yeah, Oracle, definitely. Huntsman also says Blackblade Reforged. I don't think I mind that at all either.
2 mana, then 3 to equip, because it's obviously going on Pako. I'm quite happy with that.
Now, for myself, I want to pack a decent amount of counter spells in this deck just
Sure.
to protect Paco. That's my way of protecting Paco in this deck for me, because otherwise I'm just giving Paco evasion of some sort. So for myself, I know I mentioned earlier, mana drain will give you a good amount of generic mana for recasting Paco in certain scenarios.
Yeah.
I quite like Arcane Denial, and I also had mentioned a Narset's Reversal.
Arcane Denial and a Narset
Yeah, Narset's Reversal.
Reversal.
Narset's Reversal, copy target instant or sorcery spell, return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copy. Arcane Denial, 1 and a blue, counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So it replaces itself. It's counter spell,
Yeah, I agree with that.
reprinted in Commander Legends.
No, I totally agree with that. If we are stealing things from people's decks, should we just go stolen goods?
Go what now?
Stolen goods. 3 and a blue for a sorcery. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So if
Yeah.
we're manipulating the top of their library and it's a really good creature that Paco can't use, we could use this to get it.
I think I'm good with that. Yeah, Huntsman says since he suggested Black Blade Reforged, the version of Paco he plays is draw cards, put lands into play, play all your stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. So very land heavy, mana heavy to get all their stuff out and just kind of Voltron it, I suppose. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good strategy as well.
How do you feel about Hull Breach?
Playing it or being on the receiving end of it, or
I'm talking about the red green spell. What are you
I'm
talking
talking about Hull Breacher.
about? I was talking about Hull Breach. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we dialing it back a bit?
No, no, it's just the easiest segue into Hull Breacher as a discussion topic. But yeah, I actually like Hull Breach, the sorcery where you could destroy a target artifact, enchantment, or both. You get to pick.
Yeah, I think
It's
that
flexible.
I
It's
like
a decent
cards that
removal.
have modal stuff like that. It gives you the flexibility to do what you need when you need it.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Lotus loves playing most of the charms in most of the decks that have that color identity.
Yeah. I do like modal spells because if I don't know what my cards do, because there's so many options, my opponent definitely doesn't know what I can do.
I would say Hull Breacher. Mm,
I don't think it's the
choose to run
deck.
it if you like. Choose to run it if you like. It's certainly going to give you some treasures. If you want to go that route, then your Gold Span Dragon will get you some value out of it, so on and so forth. Not the version that I wanted to suggest here. That's why I liked Hull Breach, but
Yeah.
you can certainly go that route. How do you feel about a Seasons Past? Because I feel like it's really good in this deck. Seasons Past, 4 green for the sorcery that returns any number of cards with different CMC from your graveyard to your hand, and you can put Seasons Past on the bottom of your library. So
Yeah.
potentially do it again.
I'm not sad by that. Yeah, no, I'm quite happy with that. That's quite nice recursion to redo some of this stuff that we're doing.
This version of I don't think our commander, either one of them for that matter, minds some extra protection. So I think the Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots are pretty good includes for this deck because you're trying to protect two commanders essentially.
Yeah, if we have both, you can potentially try and get both of them. I really need to pick that artwork up. Actually, no. Let's go for the secret lair one with the little doggo
Yeah.
and Swiftfoot boots. Yep, there we go. So I think okay.
MTG Survivalist. Hey, what's up? Architect is not a pay app. It's in beta. It's what a lot of us use for deck building. I know into the 99 wise, most of the crew use it. Zach, Brian, Dan.
Pretty much
I
all
don't
of
think
us.
anybody. Yeah, I think everybody uses Architect, right? Not.
Architect is such an amazing tool. I have actually subscribed to their Patreon so I can remove adverts and because they're such a good provider. But it gives you so much that you can actually see your deck stats, what you're doing. You can play test the deck if you really want to. And the search function on this is absolutely amazing. Because if I wanted to look for Swiftfoot boots, but I don't know how to spell it, I can put Swift and boot, and the search function is absolutely amazing on this site. So I would highly recommend this to anybody that's building decks, and I'm someone that's very visual. I like to see the cards laid out, and this does this beautifully.
Yeah, if you actually go into the views and sorts, you could also change it up so that if you don't care for how it drops down and you already know what all your cards do, there's a list version of it and it kind of just spells it out for you that way as well. It's quite flexible, and the more I've used it, the more I'm happy with it.
So we're
What do you think?
currently at 108, so
Oh, okay.
we kind of
Well,
topped up very quickly.
I was gonna suggest too. Depends on what power level you're playing at and so on and so forth. But I was thinking since we have a Sakashima in here,
Yeah, we're degenerate. Keep going.
no, Christmas Dreamland.
All right.
Uh, Mystic Reflection, Avenger of Zendikar.
Oh, why did I forget about Mystic Reflection? I love this card so much. They shouldn't have printed it.
They shouldn't have printed it. So, Mystic Reflection, 1 and a blue for an instant. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. Foretell for 1 blue. Mystic Reflection is very flexible. The obvious one that it partners with is an Avenger of Zendikar because you plop down Avenger of Zendikar, trigger Avenger of Zendikar, all those plants can now become another creature.
Which would be Avenger of Zendikar.
Mm-hmm.
Which would then make...
If you have 8 lands to play Avenger of Zendikar and have Mystic Reflection foretold for the 1 blue, you play Avenger of Zendikar. You have 8 lands that will be coming into effect. However, Mystic Reflection now makes all those plants additional Avengers of Zendikar. So you now have 9 Avengers of Zendikar on the battlefield, 8 more triggers of plants, you have 64 plants with
Yep.
9 Avenger of Zendikars.
But on the flip side, if you have someone that's playing a commander that is very problematic, they cast their commander, you cast Mystic Reflection targeting a Llanowar elf, their commander will enter as a Llanowar elf. It's
Yay! That's
such
exactly what we were going for.
it was such a good card. Oh,
Yeah,
no, even better. Even better. Imagine that you're doing Avenger of Zendikar, and then you get
I'm
all your
already living the dream.
you got all your plant tokens coming in. Don't copy Avenger of Zendikar again. Copy something like Dockside Extortionist and get 8 of them.
Mm-hmm. You can certainly do that and have all the amount of mana.
That card should not have been printed, but I'm glad they did.
Yeah, there's you could do quite a lot with this.
I
The Mystic Reflection, the best part about it, I believe it doesn't say it has to be a non-legendary creature you control. So, if there is a non-legendary creature that is on the battlefield, you can also do this and
next
just make
time
a bunch of those. You can do this on,
yeah, it's any creature.
yeah, you can do this on their Dockside Extortionist that they've already gotten value from. You can do this on anything that just does not have legendary written on it. A lowly being says Thrasios can be a good early drop. Mana sink, draw and ramp.
I just want to add in before I go Thrasios a trickery charm because I love my charms. You get to choose one. Target creature gains flying to end of turn. Target creature becomes a creature type until end of turn. Or look at the top 4 cards of your library and put them back in any order.
Seems good. MTG,
Thrasios.
MTG Survivalist, have you seen Lotus's Toski deck? If you haven't, go check it out. Huntsman says, I enjoy Future Sight, but I typically don't have cards in my
Okay, so we're at 112, which is where we start to slow down because making cuts is very difficult. It did. We were Han, we were brewing decks and we get up to 150 cards without land at some point. But we're only at 2.9 mana curve, which
Yeah,
is
it's pretty good.
but
It's pretty good.
our 4 drops are quite high, but I think we don't care.
No, I'm good with it.
So our commander is basically 5 mana. 36 lands, we generally just do it as an average. Would you be happy with
No,
35 or is 36 good for a 5 mana commander?
no, 35 seems fine.
I'm quite happy with that too.
I think that's where you start. I've seen other deck versions,
Okay.
especially with lower CMCs, go as low as like 32, 31. So,
Depends on the mana rocks, I suppose.
yeah.
Um,
Did we even include any of those, by the way?
oh god, no. So,
I was just looking at that and I already knew the answer, but
Soul Ring, Arcane Signet.
yeah, we're definitely not at 112.
No. This is why I said we needed to start to stop.
Sure.
Arcane Signet, do we want the talismans?
I mean, I don't think it's bad. I don't think we need talismans. I think between the Soul Ring, Mana Vault, I think we included in here already as well, right?
Um,
Off of a suggestion from chat.
Mana Vault, yeah, we did.
Yeah, no, we're fine.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Soul Ring, Arcane Signet. We have the, nature's lore and so on and so forth. So I think we're fine.
yeah, we have Farseek, Nature's Law, Search for Tomorrow, 3 visits. Yeah, we're good. And with the amount of scrying that we're doing and deck manipulation,
Yeah,
I think
it,
we'll be
it
good.
becomes way less of an issue. Thrasios slash Search for Tomorrow. No, not Search for Tomorrow. Greatness, greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've also got Miri's Guile.
Scroll rack. Yeah, we've got ways to manipulate the top deck. Sylvan Library. We can make sure we hit our land drops for sure.
Yeah. So we now need
Never punished.
to cut 13 cards.
Never punished.
So what is it that we're looking to cut?
Additionally, just keep in mind, again, especially with the land base, that you are able to play opponent's lands that you flip off of Paco. So I think that lands are not as big an issue. I would even be comfortable going down to 33, 34. 34 is probably safe,
I would
honestly.
say 34. I'd say we cut another red. But obviously, if you're building the deck yourself, you can do whatever you want with the land base. We literally don't worry about the lands unless it's a land that really benefits the deck. We'll just put basics in for now.
So I'm looking here. We are definitely artifact heavy,
We are. We've got 18.
which is more than every other subtype.
Okay, so we have Arcane Signet, which is a good ramping card. Black Blade Reforged, Codex Shredder to mill the top card of someone's library if we don't like it, and we can also sack it to return any card from our graveyard to our hand. Dolmen's Gate, I'm happy to cut.
Yeah, I like the card a lot. It does protect Paco, but I think we have other evasion aspects that protect it.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily need to be combat damage we're protecting specifically.
So we've got Helm of the Host, we've got Jester's Cap,
We have a Helm of the Host.
Helm of Obedience, sorry. But Helm of the Host, now you say it.
I mean, we have Sakashima and Spark Double. I think I want to leave it at that.
But Helm of the Host. um,
I am not the host, so if you choose to enjoy the host aspect more, by all means. But we're trying to make cuts, Lotus.
Okay, I'll compromise. We'll put it in the maybe board.
It's not a bad card. More Pacos, more good Duggos. I personally just want, two, maybe three Pacos max. I'm not trying to breed a whole kennel.
I'm looking at this and I'm really struggling what to take out. I think Wander Denial is too specific. I think that might have to come out because it doesn't filter lands off the top of their library if we want to get to their instants and sorceries.
See,
but then if
I personally don't like the Gestures Cap as much because I want to play with my opponent's cards in this deck. I don't want to remove them from the game.
That's fair.
Well, I do, but I want to do it with Paco's ability, not
that's fair.
Straight exile.
I still don't like Jeweled Lotus.
Nope.
You want it in here, don't you?
I definitely want it in here.
Okay.
Tell you what, when we circle back around to not having enough cuts or anything like that, I'll throw it in when I feel comfortable with it. But no, it's just it. I want to see turn two Paco as often as possible, whether that be through Jeweled Lotus or Mana Vault or somebody playing a bunch of islands because we have a carpet of flowers out on turn. I don't care. Yeah, I want to see Paco out as much as possible.
Fine, I'll keep it for that.
Let's see.
We're at 16.
So we've got Divining Top and Scroll Rack.
Yeah, Sensei's Divining Top is like $50. I know we don't really care about money, but I think it's either you do one or the other.
Yeah. 1 mana to manipulate the top three is fine. However, I think if I'm paying 1 mana, I think I would just personally rather Scroll Rack, and it got a reprint recently, so pick it up now.
Yeah, I'll put it to maybe.
Half the price.
So that still counts as a cut, but it's still a maybe.
Yeah. Soul Ring, Strionic Resonator, Swiftfoot Boots, Wand of Denial, we already cut. Whisper Silk Cloak, I would say that is a form of removal. How do you feel about that versus the other one that you had suggested?
I quite like Whisper Silk Cloak.
Because it's just, an additional Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots kind of thing that sticks around, protect one of, Haldan/Pako.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to have both of them because of we've got two commanders. We need to protect both.
Yeah. Ironically, Haldan doesn't come out until a decent amount of the ways in, honestly. Most oftentimes in this deck, Pako does the heavy lifting, and then Haldan just says, okay, now I want to cast your stuff.
That's fair.
Disclaimer for anybody that's playing Pako and Haldan if they haven't already. Keep a notepad on hand for all the things that get exiled if you're playing over Spell Table, because you need to know what they're playing. Infinite tokens are great for that.
I think we'll leave the artifacts alone for now. I think we should move on to enchantments just to check they're all okay.
Sure.
So Vanishing, just a really good card.
It's fantastic in this deck.
Sylvan Library, very good card. Stolen Strategy, Soothsaying, Rhythm of the Wild. I like it for the non-counter section mainly. During your upkeep, you may look at the top card of target opponent's library and you may put that card on the bottom. Now, 5 mana to do that, although I love the card, I think that's a bit high.
I would agree.
Myth Unbound, Miri's Guile, Mind's Dilation just gets you so much value. In
Yeah, I
Search
think
of Greatness, I'm not fond of at the moment. Because there gets to a
yeah,
point where you
we
don't
can we could
actually
we
get
can
to
take that
play
out.
anything.
I think that we actually have enough effects, so for our top deck, that
Yeah.
I don't think we need it as well. I just want to put this in as many decks as I can.
See, I've
But yeah,
seen it been played and it doesn't work how you think it works. It actually is not as. You get to a certain point in a commander game where you're playing your big drops and you've got smaller drops in your hand and you just don't get to put anything off it.
I mean, I'm okay with it just getting me to my big drops. But
Yeah.
that being said, I mean, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think that in this deck we're getting to more than 6 or 7 CMC more than like a handful of times. I can probably count it on one hand with the CMC being as low as it is. So I don't think it fits here either way.
Yeah, no.
Also, just backtracking a second, I think that Miri's Guile for 60% of the price of Sensei's Divining Top might just be strictly better. It's the same thing and it does it on its own every upkeep.
Yeah, this over Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, I think I would just, if I was buying this deck, if I don't have this collection already, I would just buy a Miri's Guile over a Sensei's on this deck specifically. Sensei's can do some shenanigans in other decks, certainly, but maybe
Yeah.
not the deck for it.
No, I agree.
Um,
Hadama's Climb's one of your
I would say
favourites.
Hadana. I would say Hadana's Climb is a maybe as of right now. I can circle back to it, but I quite like that. You don't what who doesn't want to give their dog flying?
And then we've got your Carpet of Flowers and the Bare Umbra, which I think are reasonable to keep in, especially your Carpet of Flowers.
I quite like it.
Okay, that's cool. So we now have 105. So
That's as reasonable within the rest of it, I think.
yeah, so
And then we could
creatures.
revisit. Then we could revisit the maybe board.
Yeah, creatures. We got Avenger of Zendikar.
I mean, we could take it out if we're taking out Mystic Reflection.
I think Mystic Reflection should stay in regardless of Avenger of Zendikar.
There. Where are you going with this, Lotus?
It's just a good removal card for your commanders. Like you're playing against
What do you think of
something.
Avenger?
I think it doesn't fit this deck.
Okay. How about I'll make you a compromise. A lowly being is suggesting 3 CMC Thassa that makes Paco unblockable and scries every turn. So why don't we put that in instead of Avenger and then reevaluate? Because I'm actually quite happy with that.
Is it Deep Dwelling?
No, that's the 4-1, the original.
God
I
of
think
the
it's Thassa,
Sea.
God of the Sea. Yeah, and I think that fits better as well,
Yeah,
if I'm being
Scry
honest.
1. Yeah, I think that's better.
Lowly being, I like it. I like it a lot.
Where's my creatures gone? There they are. So Atali, I love. It's just a 6/6 that can get crazy value.
I'm not a huge fan of Gemraiser in this deck. We're only mutating once. For myself, it's because of the trample for Paco on Sawtusk Demolisher, and it makes it double its base power, 6/6 instead of 3/3, as opposed
True.
to 4/4.
I suppose, and it does the same thing, but you get more power out of it.
Yeah.
Herald of the Secret Streams is just good. Morag for additional combat steps is just good. Moral Dire is just good. Rishmi is just good. Robber of the Rich, just good.
Yeah, I mean, we're only running 14 creatures besides our commanders
Yeah,
as of right now. So,
they're pretty. I think the creatures, other than that one, I think they're fine.
do you still like Thrasios? Because I don't know that we're making a bunch of infinite mana. Like, we have mana to sink into it. I don't disagree if we're doing Bear Umbra and things of that sort, but
I think even without infinite mana, Thrasios is just a good card.
fair enough.
I mean, if you want to move it to the maybe board, I'm fine with that. But I
Yeah.
like
I would say
Thrasios as a card, regardless if you go infinite or not.
I would say put Thrasios in the maybe board for the moment, and it'll be the first one we bring back.
Okay, I agree with that.
Because I don't disagree that Thrasios is powerful, but in my mind, for the 2-drop, I would rather be ramping
That's fair.
or setting up Sylvan Library, things of that nature for myself. But I mean, I don't disagree that it's strong.
So we've only got to cut 3. So we'll go on to sorceries next.
Sure.
So we've got Bamboozle,
Mm-hmm.
Chandra's Ignition, and if Paco's getting as big as you say it will, I think that stays.
Yeah.
Farseek,
Hull,
Hull
Hull
Breach.
Breach. You're also playing blue in this deck, so it's even scarier when you announce. No, but
Do you know what? We forgot a card.
which one's that?
Um,
Barrier Breach.
that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
a.
was debating.
I think every green deck should run this.
It's it's really good.
Exile up to 3 target enchantments and cycle it for 2. It's such a good card.
All right, take out Hull Breach. Put that in.
Okay, that was an
I
easy.
don't know how many times do we want to blow up an artifact specifically.
Not often because we are running. Well, it depends on the artifact, but we got Treasure Nabber to steal it if it's a mana rock.
Yeah,
Most of the time, we'll be casting them.
yeah. It's a lowly being is not wrong here. Beast Within for a better catch-all, which we don't have in right now.
Yeah,
When we go to instance, I think we should also include Beast Within. So yeah, lowly being. I don't disagree with you. The crazy part about Barrier Breach is that you can exile it, so it's never coming back. And a lot of enchantments that people run in EDH are typically quite strong. So
Smothering
you don't
Tithe, Propaganda.
you don't want any of that stuff back. I've been on the receiving end of too many of those, but that's not the point. Um,
Brian's famous turn 2 Smothering Tithe.
I think that how do you feel about both Serum Visions and Ponder? I think one is better than the other. Which one do you like better, Lotus?
So, I prefer.
I prefer Smothering Tithe.
I prefer Serum Visions, honestly.
Okay. I think that's just a personal choice.
Yeah.
I personally prefer Ponder, because you can look at the top three first, put them back in any order, and you also have the ability to shuffle them if you don't like, is what I like about it. Um, but I'm okay with Serum Visions as well.
Yeah. Temporal Spring, 3 visits, Seize the Day, Seasons Past. Search from Tomorrow, I'm not so sure on.
Sure. We can cut that.
And then finally, we've got our instance.
Okay. And what are we up to right now?
We currently have 102.
Okay.
So we have Arcane Denial, Barrier Breach, Beast Within, Brainstorm, Discombobulate. I'm happy to cut it. It's just I like the name.
That's fair.
Expel from Araska, Heroic Intervention, Hinder, Mana Drain, Memory Lapse, Mystic Reflection, Narset's Reversal, Natural Selection, Noxious Revival, Savage Beating, Submerge, and Trickery Charm.
Yeah, I think natural selection is doing the least out of those, I feel like.
That was my thought when looking at it through all of them.
Let's see. What is your favorite part about Trickery Charm? Because I know you like your charms.
Well, it gives the creature flying if you want to get over and do some damage.
See, I just want to do that with Hadana's Climb.
I tell you what,
Hadana's Climb is also a ramp.
I tell you what, as much as I love my charms, I will take out Trickery Charm and I'll put in Hadama's Climb.
Okay, I'm happy.
We're actually at a 100 exactly at this moment in time.
Okay. I would say let's actually get rid of the Brainstorm and bring back Thrasios because it'll do it more often.
Yeah. Helm of the Host is gone.
Question though, did we add Beast Within yet?
We did. Beast
Cool.
Within and Barrier Breach because Barrier Breach is fantastic.
All right. We had 100, right?
We are at 100 and our mana curve is exactly 3 and looking very healthy.
Yep. I'm good with this as it is. I think Domri, Jace are perfectly fine as two planeswalkers that are going to probably die very quickly.
Yeah.
But it'll do its job on the way out. Yeah, I think I'm good with this.
I'm actually quite happy with this deck. And it sounds as disgusting as it was first looking, which makes me happy.
And we still have Bamboozle.
We still have Bamboozle, which makes me even happier. But that was
Yeah.
so much fun to brew. Like I say, I've never really seen these commanders before. I knew
Uh-oh.
they existed through artwork, but I never sat down and read what they did. And these are disgusting. And I kind of want to play with and against it to see how it is.
A lowly being is suggesting a Nexus of Fate. What do you think of Nexus of Fate?
I'm getting some flashbacks from Standard many, many months ago.
But it's an additional combat step for Paco.
You tell me what to remove for Nexus of Fate, and I will put Nexus of Fate in.
Good question. Tell you what do you think of Codex Shredder? I don't mind the milling a card.
It doesn't do enough, does it? Okay, I agree. I surrender. You can have your Nexus of Fate.
Hey, it wasn't me, it was lowly being.
It's in the deck. It's done. It's gone.
Fantastic. And that definitely brought up our CMC from a little bit of it was 3 even, you said, actually, right?
Now it's 3.09, but
Ah, there we go. It's worth it.
it's still a healthy curve, and yeah, we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, seems great. I'm happy with this.
Now, if anyone does actually build anything similar to what we've brewed tonight, I'd love to know how it plays. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on how ours turned out with the help of chat and Han. Um, because I've never played with or against it, and I really want to know what it's like. Looking at it, it looks filthy as hell, and it fascinates me of how this is going to work.
Just so you know, I believe if you want to get a first-hand taste, maybe not of this deck specifically, but I do know that Zach owns a Paco and Haldan deck, so you can ask him to bring it out.
That I'm going to have to ask Zach. Maybe we can do it on one of the Tuesday night into the 99 games. Watch me go from I'm really interested to a salty, salty person.
A lowly being says, in reality, I really like that Nexus of Fate stops mill, but I'm a simple being.
Yeah, to be fair, I do run World Spineworm in my Manaless Dredge purely for that reason. So I have to agree, having one card like that is pretty good.
I mean, I just like Kozilek's.
I know you do.
But on that note,
I think,
yeah,
yeah.
Paco and Haldan, I think it's good.
And
Definitely set and good to go, and very powerful.
yeah, and if anyone has any suggestions for next Sunday, please either message me or go into the 99 Discord and tag me. Let me know what you think, what you want us to brew. Happily do it. Um,
Yeah,
but
myself included. Just throw it up on into the 99 Discord. At me at Lotus, and we're both on there. You can also comment on if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment down below, and certainly we will be more than happy to take a look and see what we got for this next week coming up.
yeah, and if you like the content, you want to see more of it, go to into the 99 on the YouTube. You'll see all the videos from our gameplay, our podcast. You go to intothe99.com, you can see articles. You'll also have links to the Discord, which should be below as well. You can visit our merchandise store. You can also see our Patreon. But otherwise, I think that's it from us for this evening. Thanks for joining us.
We love you all. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye bye.